All right, welcome back to Genius. So in this session, let's talk about something that will be very, very useful for us when we are writing our code. List comprehension and also nested list. So you need to understand how these things work, how to use them, because you will always be using them in your code, okay? So what is list comprehension? All right, list comprehension is a concise way to create list in Python. All right. Basically, it is a concise way to create lists from other lists. All right. To create a custom list from other lists. And it's also another way of, instead of us to loop through our list to create another list, we can actually use list comprehension. So it reduces the need for loops and improves readability. Okay, so before I show you the basic syntax, let me show you, okay, let me show you, how we can loop through a list and create another list from it using the loop. Okay, so, okay, I have this list already. Okay, so now I could create a new list. Okay, I could say new. I could say new list is equal to an empty list. Okay. Now, or okay, I could do this. Then I can say for name in names. Okay. What do I want to do? I want to add this new list dot append. I want to append the name. Okay, you can see the way I'm creating this new list now. I have a list and I created an empty list. So I'm looping through I'm looping through the names list. And as I'm looping through them, I'm adding each of the element in this names list to the new list. So if I go on and print the new list, we are actually going to have the list. Okay, so if I go on and print this new list, now remember before we looped through it, it was empty. Now, after looping through it, as we are looping through it, I was adding the elements from the names list into the new list. I was adding to them. So if I run this code now, I'm actually going to, let me clear. So if I run this code now, Python script. Now remember, if you're using the code editor on the website, okay, you can just click on run and you run it. So now when I run this, you can see we have the new list. So this is a way of doing it, but you can see we have another way of doing it. That other way is what we call the list comprehension. So let me show you. So this is the basic syntax. Okay. This is the basic syntax. Instead of me to just create an empty list first, I'm going to write something like this. So let me go and do it. Then I'll come back to explain to you some of these things. So now, instead of me to do this, I will comment this one. I'll comment it out. Instead of me to do it, I'm going to write this new list. Um, I will say name. Okay, this is the expression, and I'll say for name in names. All right. So look at what I'm doing here. I'm saying for, all right, this is basically the loop. All right. So I'm saying for name in names. Okay. Then I have this expression. So basically what Python is going to do is this. Python is going to loop through, Python is going to see this as a loop. So Python is going to loop through each and every element in this names list, then put it in this variable. Then when I now say this expression here, Python will now add. Now, this expression you have here, this thing I have here is equivalent of doing new list.append name. Why this one is equivalent to the whole loop itself. Okay, so this is the expression, this is the for loop. Okay, you can actually have a conditional. Okay, you can actually have a conditional expression after the for loop. So if I run this code now, guess what? We get the same thing. We get the same thing. Okay, so you can see that we have exactly the same thing, all right? The new list was printed. So look at how simple this list comprehension. Now, this is what we call list comprehension. So instead of using the for loop to do all these things, I just use the list comprehension. So let's go and see the syntax, okay? Now, you can see the expression, I put it in a different color. There are these four items in iterable. Now, this iterable is anything that can be iterated, anything that the for loop can actually iterate, whether for loop, whether list, whether tuples, whether dictionaries, even list, even sort, even strings. So now we have the expression. Now, the expression is the operation to perform on each item. Now, it could be just the name of the item, or I could actually do an operation. I can actually say name dot title. Okay, I can actually do anything with it. So the expression could just be the name of the variable of the item we're iterating, or I could just do anything with it. So this expression is going to be an operation we perform on each item. Now, this expression, anything we perform in this expression is what is going to be added to the list. You have to pay close attention to this because it can be tricky. Now, the for, now the iterable, all right, is actually the list we are iterating. Okay, so when you're looping through a list, you're actually iterating through all the elements in the list. Okay, now this if condition is actually optional, but this if condition will filter elements before applying the expression. So look at how this thing works. The for loop will go through, the for item in iterable will go first. All right, so after iterating, as it is iterating through the iterable, which is the list or maybe tuple or dictionary, for each of the item, it will check if this condition is true for the item. If this condition is true for the item, then it will now come back here and perform the expression. And whatever is the result of this expression will be added to the list as if you are appending an item, an element to the list. Okay, so I think I should go back to code and show you more. Now look at it. I could actually add a condition. I could actually say if name, what can I do here? Um, I actually don't, if name, okay. Okay, let me say if name, okay, look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to say if the first item in name, okay, because this name is actually a string. Remember, a string is a sequence. So we can actually treat it as a list. So I'm saying if the first character of this name, this item we are looping through is equal to J. Do you understand? So I'm just trying to do a filter here. So look at what is going to happen. First of all, Python is going to loop through this names list. So for each iteration, it would actually get this name. For every element, it will add it to this name variable here. So with this name variable, after the once the iteration goes and the name variable is added, we are now coming here to check this name that we got, this variable that we got, is the first character equal to uppercase J. If it is equal to it, that is when we now perform this expression. Okay, now this expression could be anything. It could be that I might want to repeat, I might just say name, I might want to repeat this name 3 times. Okay, so the for loop goes first. As the for loop is iterating, we are getting the elements in this list. So once we get that element, we now come and check this element that we got, does it satisfy this condition? If it satisfies this condition, we now perform this expression. All right. So now guess what? We are only go with this thing we have here. We only have one element that satisfies this condition. So we will come here and then this element will now be repeated 3 times. So if I run this code, you'll see, look at it now. John is the only element that has satisfied this condition. And now we now have John, John, John because we repeated it. Okay, this is one example. So let me give you another example. Let's say we have norms, and this norms is an array of numbers. Okay, um, I could say new list. Okay, so let me change what I have here. Or maybe I could just, okay, let me change what I have here. I could say new list. Then what is my list comprehension going to be? Okay, I could say norm is going to be my first day expression. Okay, first of all, I will start with the for norm in norms because this is the first thing Python is going to perform. So now once we get each number, each item, because each item will be stored in norm. So once we get it, we are not checking if, remember this condition is actually optional. If you don't need it, no problem. If you don't need to filter, no problem. If I say if norm is divisible by 2 without any remainder, so I'm trying to get even number here. So if num is divisible by 2 without any remainder, that means it's an even number. Then I just want you to add num. Okay, look at what I'm doing here. All right. I'm first of all getting the looping through no, the norms list. Then for each of the item or element I'm getting from this norm, I'm checking, does that item satisfy this condition? If it satisfies this condition, that means it's an even number. Then I will not add it. If it doesn't, I wouldn't add it. Okay. So when I go on and do this, you see we got 2 and 4 because they are the only elements that satisfies the condition. Okay. All right. So you see, we have the expression, we have the iterable, we have the condition. The condition is optional. It is actually used to filter. So when you want to filter the elements in a list, you can actually use this list comprehension with the condition. The condition sometimes can even take if else. So don't worry, we'll take a look at it. So let's take a look of example. Now you can see in this example, we are having the for x in range. Remember, the range is used to create a range of number, like a list of numbers. So this range is going to create an iterable for us. It's going to create a list between 1 and 4. Okay, so we are using this to get the square. So let me also take you to, let's actually do it. So I'm going to take everything out here, and then I'm going to say squares, I'll call it squares, is equal to the expression would be, first of all, I won't start with the expression. I will say for let's say norm in range. Remember that this range is going to create a list for us. For norm in range, I'm between 1 and 5, 5 exclusive, 5. So between 1 and 5, then I'm not having any condition. Then I'm not saying um, num times num. That's the square, right? Square is number times number. Yeah, that's square. Am I correct? Yes. Okay, square is time two number raised to power 2. Sorry. Okay. All right. So it is square is number raised to power 2. I can actually use the power function. Okay. So when I do this, I'm going to print out squares. Okay. I'm going to print out squares. So if I save this and run this script, now it's going to give me the squares of the numbers. Remember, 5, this range will create, it will create a list between 1 and 4. 5 is not inclusive. So if you want to include 5, you will have to make it 6. So 0, 1, 4, 9, 16. So this is the square of this number. So look at it. The first one here is the loop because num in iterable, this one will generate an iterable for us, a list that we can iterate on. Then say for num in this. So for each number, for each element that we get from this list, we're actually doing this as operation here. So this is the expression. So this expression can be anything that is any valid expression. Okay, so you can actually still use a condition here, okay, if you want to filter it. Okay, So you can use condition, all right? I have already shown you how to use condition, okay? You can use condition. You can also use the if else. So look at it. Now, this one is actually, so let me show you. You can actually use the if else. So now, in this example, I want to say if num is divisible by 2 without a remainder. That means the remainder is the modulus of this is 2, is 0. If it is divisible by 2, all right, I want to print even. I want to print even. Okay, else I want to print odd. Okay, so if I save this, I hope I don't get any error here. I think it seems I have an error. Even for this in this, if num is this else. Okay, let me check the syntax. If this is equal to 0 else odd. Oh, okay. So now you can see the way it is structured. Now the condition is no longer after the for, sorry, it's no longer after the loop. Okay, so it is in here. So I'll go back and fix it. So this condition actually should be, now it should be like this. It should be like this. Okay, so even, all right, the expression is going to be even, or any other expression I want to, if the number is divisible by 0, else is going to be odd. So now, this is the syntax is actually different. If you're using the if-else statement, it's actually different. But if you're just using the if, okay, you just make sure you understand how the syntax goes. But in case you forget, I have just forgotten, all you have to do is to Google it and check for documentation and you'll see it. Most times we forget syntaxes, okay? So look at it. We are saying for each of this norm, we are coming to say if norm is divisible by 2 without any remainder, the expression is going to be even, else the expression is going to be odd. So if I go on and run this code now, we are going to get even, odd. So you can see, look at the loop. Okay, let me clear. Then so that you will see this thing. You can see we have even, we have odd, we have even, we have odd, we have even. Okay, so this is how it works. So you can actually do the if else statement in your list comprehension. You can see this is very, very powerful. Okay, all right. So when we check for performance and comparison, okay, it is actually faster than using loops. It's actually faster than using loops, okay? So if you want to check how long would it take you to, although sometimes this whole thing will depend on your machine, on your computer. So you can actually use this code, okay? You can actually use this code. All right, I'm not going to check. I don't want this class to be too long, okay? So, but you can actually write this code and check. So this is using when we are using a loop, okay? We use the start time.time, okay? You can just look at this code and write it and copy it and run it. It will give you, now if you print the end time and the start time, it will give you, if you print out this, it will give you the time it took for this code to run. So this is for the loop. So if you want to check how long it took to do a list comprehension, you can actually use this code. So write the two code, all right? Write the two code and then run the two of them and see the difference. Okay, run them multiple times and see the difference, okay? Because it depends on your machine, on how your machine is. So now let's take a look at nested list. Let's take a look at nested list, okay? A nested list is a list inside another list. A nested list is a list inside another list. So in your list, you can actually have those elements can actually be list. So you're having a list inside a list. Okay. So this allows Python to store data in 2D, 3D, or even higher dimensions, making it useful for working with matrices, tables, and complex data structure. Most times when you're working with your Python, when you're working your Python program, you'll be getting data from the database. You'll be getting data from APIs. You'll be getting data from maybe CSV. You'll be getting data from so many places. So most times this data will come in nested list. So you need to know how to work with nested list. Okay. All right. So the simple example is this. You can see that this list, instead of it having normal primitive elements, is actually having a list inside of it. You see, the first element is a list, the second element is a list, the third element is a list. So when you print this thing, you're going to have this thing like this. So it is a list that has a list as elements. Okay, as simple as that. So how do you write it? So I could go on and say nested, and this nested is it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is a nested list now. So if I go on and print it, okay, you can see, all right, it is a nested list. It has these elements are list instead of being ordinary primitive data elements. Okay, all right. So you can also have mixed lists. Okay, you can also have lists that have nested lists that even have different types of data in them. Okay, you can have mixed data types. So these nested lists have different types of elements, data types of elements in them. So you can actually, I believe you understand what this is, what it means to have a mixed data type list. So you can also have this, okay? So then let's go to the business of the day. How do you access nested list? You access elements in a nested list using indexing. Just like the same way you will use indexing to access elements in a normal list, okay? You will use indexing to access it, but then you are actually going to be using, okay, let me explain using code. Now, how do I access this list? So if I say, normally, if I use the index, if I say index 0, what do you expect to be what do you expect will be our result? The first element, which is this one, all right, which is this one. It could be a primitive element, data element. It could be a list. So if I run this now, you see we got a list. So the first element, all right, in the 0 is a list, which is the first element. Okay. Now, if I come and now say this, because I know that I'm going to get a list. If I have this index 0, I'm going to get a list. If I now say index 0 again, what do you think I'm going to get? I'm not going to get the single element of the first element of the nested element of the nested list. So this first one will give me the first element of this nested list, which is this one. All right. So when I now do another indexing again, it's going to give me the first element of this one. So if I run this code now, you can see I got 1. All right. If I try to say, oh yeah, give me 2, index 2, I will get 3. Okay. If I try to say, okay, I don't want the index 0, the first index, the first element in the nested element. So I'm using index 1 in the first one. So if I try this now, what do you think will be my answer? This, I will be targeting, that index 1 will be targeting this one, and this second index 2 will be targeting 6. So if I run this code, now I'm going to get 6. Okay. So I believe you can see the code. You can see the output. Okay. So this is how you access nested elements. Okay. So now I have shown you how to access the nested element, and also have to access an element inside the element. So you can actually use double indexing here. Okay. All right. So how do you modify? Just the same way you were able to access, you can actually still use the indexing to modify. So changing an element, all you have to do is to use the indexing and just change the element. So if I go back and I say, instead of printing this out like this, I'll call this, sorry, oops, sorry. Instead of printing this here, I could just call this guy out and I'll say this is equal to 88. So if I print this list now, what do you think would be? Now, this nested, this index one element two here will give us, will target this one. So what we are modifying is we are modifying this 6. So this is going to turn to 88 because we just modified it. So if I print nested, okay, and go on and clear and run it and then run again, you can see this 6, this 88 is now that one that used to be 6 is now 88 because that's what we modified. If we also try to modify another one, we say nested, maybe let's target the first element in the nested, which is 0, and let's target the 1. Okay, so if I go now and say it's going to be 100, so what do you think we are targeting? The first one is this list. Okay, and the element at index 1 is 2. So we are now going to have 100, 1, then 103. So if I go on save and run this code, you can see that 2 has been replaced by 100. So this is how you modify, just the way you also modify a normal list. But just understand that you're working with double indexing, if I may put it that way. You're working with double indexing, okay? All right. So you can update elements using indexing. You can change the whole sublist. Okay. Now, when you target something like this and change the whole list like this, that means you're changing the whole list. So I can say I want a part. I can say the first, I can do this. I can say the first element in this list, I want to create a new list. I can say I'm creating 100, 200, 300. And if I run this code, now you're going to see this one which we targeted, we have modified it. So if I run this code, now you can see now it has been modified. Okay, so it's just basically assessing them using indexing, modifying them using indexing, whatever you want to target, use the indexing to target it, and then just make the changes. Okay. You can also loop through nested list. Okay. So let me show you how you do that. Okay. It will be best explained using code. So now I have this list, nested list. So what I want to do, I want to loop through them. Okay. I want to loop through them. So I will do for um how do I put it? Let me say let me use item, okay? Pardon me if okay, let me say LST, okay? LST as list, okay? All right. For list in nested, all right? For list in nested, I'll put my colon. Oops, sorry. Sorry. I'm not writing JavaScript. I put my colon here, then I put my colon here. Okay, first for list in nested, I will say, now remember that this my list now is also a list. All right, okay, let me just use, I don't know, let me just use item nest. I want to have a descriptive name. Let me just use nested one. Okay, so this nested one, remember, this nested one is also a list. Remember, since it's also a list, I can also look through it. So I can now say for nested 2 in nested 1. I put my colon, then I can now print, I can print, nested 2. So what is going to happen is that I'm going to print every element. First of all, the loop will go here. okay, and print all the elements in the first one, okay, then continue to the next one to the next one. So if I do this, oh, sorry, I I printed nested, which is the list. Sorry, I should print nested too. I'm so sorry about that. Sorry. So I will clear. Okay, then I will run again. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So with this, I'm able to have access to I can have access to the items in the nested loop. Then from the items in the nested loop, which is the first one I got here, okay, and I have. So if I try to say, look at what I'm going to do. I can even print the item that are as they are being iterated. Okay, I can say nested one. So if I do this, okay, and then I can do, okay, I can do this. Then let's print. Hey, sorry. This is not what I want to run. I'm sorry. Sorry. Come on. Oh, it had okay. Let me just delete it. Okay, it's I'm actually good. I was running Python test. Sorry about that. Don't worry, you still learn how to do your unit testing in Python. Okay, so sorry, that was a wrong command that I typed. So okay, so if I run this now, you can see the first element in the nested list came and we printed it. The second one came, we printed it. The third one came, we printed it. So this is how you can actually have access to it. When you look through them, you can actually have access to them. Okay, all right. So you can see for row, okay, I could have used row. Okay, row could have been better, row and column. All right. So for row in nested list, so the first row in the nested list, we can also say item or even column in the row. So you can see how it is being done. Okay. And then you can actually use this end to indicate instead of a new line character, you don't want a new line character, you want a space. So you can use this thing. All right. So you can also loop into nested list. Use nested loops to iterate through nested list. So you can use the enumerate. I have taught you this enumerate before. Okay, you can use the enumerate to get access to the index. So if you are interested in getting the index of these loops, you can actually use the enumerate function to have access to them. Okay, I'm not going to explain the enumerate again because we have taught about I've taught it before. I've discussed it before. So you can also use list comprehension with nested list. All you have to do is to just, since you understand that when you're using the normal list in a when you're using list compression in normal list, you have to understand that you're looping through them. So here we are saying, okay, this is the first list. This one is the first list, and this one is the second list. Okay, so now let's go and attempt a list comprehension in this our nested list. So instead of doing this, let's comment it out and let's use the list comprehension. So look at it. First of all, understand. Okay, I'm just going to call it list like this. That's the name of the variable. And I'm going to do this. The first iteration should be the first. So I will say for row, okay, for row in nested. Come on now, give me nested. Do I have for row in nested? Okay, so now this is the first one. So now remember, if you do this loop expression here, I just call it loop expression to help you understand it. So if you do this one here, remember that what you're doing here, you're looping through the nested one. So as we are looping through, remember that this row is also going to be a list. So we are now going to come and do another list here, and we now say inside this list, okay, remember we are creating another list. Okay, so we now say inside this list, we are going to do for, let's say, column in row. All right, and that column, then we are now going to say this is going to be our expression. I hope this doesn't confuse you. Let me explain. This one is looping through these items individually. all right, these items individually. But remember, as we're looping through this item individually, this row is going to represent each and every item here, which is also a list. All right. So now this is going to be our expression. Expression, this expression can be anything. I told you, it can be anything that is a valid expression. So this is a valid expression. So right here, we are creating a list. So inside of this expression now, we also have this row that is also a list. So we are doing another. So this is the second. Now, this one here is what we have here, the first iteration. Okay. Then this one here is now what we have here. Okay, then this column is not the expression we have here. So this one is the first expression for this one. Then the column here is not the expression for this one. So if we go on and print LST, let's see what we get. Okay, I am going to clear, then I'm going to run this. Okay, so basically what we got was a list, because that's what we are, that's the expression we are creating here. So in case you don't want to have this expression, we can actually go on and say, okay, we don't want this list, but let us go on and do it like this. Okay, but we are having a one in here. Row is not defined. Okay, so we have to find a way to, okay, okay. Now it's just for you to work around this expression. Okay. So, but when you do this, you're actually going to get basically what we had before. So, but um, okay, so let's see what example we got here. So we have this 3 times 3 matrix. So we see we have J for J in range 3 for I in range. So this basically is something we did and we got this, okay? So list comprehension can be used to create and modify nested list efficiently. So you can flatten a nested list like this. So this is the list. So when you say flatten, you want to put all the whole thing to be one list. Now, all the nested lists, we are going to, when you say you want to flatten a list, you're going to take all the nested lists inside that list and make everything to be one. So this is what I wanted to do before, okay? Num for row in nested list for no, okay? Okay. Okay. So this comes first. Okay. Then for num in row. Okay. So this is what I wanted to do, but I got the syntax wrong. So this is what I wanted to do. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So, but what I'll be doing here is I'll be flattening it. So now I should go take this one out. So the first, now this is the first iteration, and this is the second one. For row in nested, okay, let me see this syntax here again. Num for, okay, num for num in row. Okay, it's just the syntax that I need to get right now. Okay, so this one says for num in row. Okay, for row in nested list. So this is the first iteration. Then we are now doing the second iteration here. Then we are getting this num here, and we're using it as our expression. Okay, I got it. Okay, so now look at it. Okay, so this is going to be for row in nested column, then for column in row. And so this column should be out from here, and then it should be my expression here. So let me explain. Okay. All right, we got everything cool. So if I run this code now, we are going to get a flattened list. So now look at what I did here. Okay. It's just the syntax. Now let me tell you something. I just forgot the syntax. It is a normal thing. It is a normal thing. All right. I cannot have all the syntax. I am writing JavaScript, I'm writing Python, I'm writing Node, I'm writing this, I'm writing TypeScript. So sometimes you just have to, you forget. Now, but the thing is, since I understand the concept, that is the main thing. So look at what we are doing here. If you want to flatten a list, all right. First of all, this is the first iteration for row in nested. All right, then you have iterated through each and every one of these lists you have here. Then you're now saying for column in row. So now we are now iterating each and every one of this row, and this column is what we are using as our expression. So here we can even say column raised to power 2, and when we run it, we are going to get the squares of each of those columns. Okay, so the thing is this: play around with these things, play around with them. And if you don't understand, please reach out to us, okay? Chat us on WhatsApp and let's explain better. But take time. You can even rewatch this video, rewatch this class, retake this class for you to understand this thing better, okay? Make sure you're flowing with the syntax. But the thing is that you understand the concept of list comprehension, understand that even in list comprehension, we are still doing looping. So understand how the syntax goes. You don't have to cram them, all right? And then understand nested loops, okay? So that is how we flatten a nested loop. So you can see what we got here. Look at what we got here. We took each and every one of the lists inside of it and made all of them to be part of a one list. So here we now have just one list. We don't have nested list again. So that's what we mean by flattening a nested list. So operations in nested list, you can do the sum, okay? You can do the sum of a nested list. So this is the syntax too, all right? When you do for row in nested list, you now do the sum and sum everything together. So now, like I said, just be careful with the syntax. Don't cram it. If in case you forget it, no problem. All you have to do, I can say, some, I don't know, this is a keyword actually. Some is actually a method, so I'm not supposed to use some. I can say some. I can just say sums. Don't mind my name, okay, the name of my variable. I can say sums and I'll say sum. So this is the syntax. I will now say sum, okay, of row. Okay, I'll say for row in nested. All right. So what I'm doing here, just look at the syntax, okay? Okay, and then we can print the sum. So this is going to give us the sum of the elements we have here. So now this is the first iteration. All right, this is the first iteration. Okay, so we are iterating each and every one of the elements here, which is also a list. So this row is a list. Then we now pass this. Remember, this sum. The sum is actually it is a function in Python that you use to get the sum of all the items in a list. So I pass in this row that is also a list to this sum. Then I have another sum that is summing everything together. All you have to do is to look at the syntax. So when I run this code now, we are actually going to get the sum of all the elements in there, the sum of them. So this is how you do it. You can also do max. You can also do max. Okay, what is the maximum number we have there? If I run this code now, we are going to get the maximum number should be 9. Okay, you can also do min. You can also do any of this. Okay, so just look at the syntax. First of all, you're looping through. Then each and every one of these lists, you're adding it, you're giving it to this function. Then at the end of the day, you're giving this whole function the everything. So just look at the syntax and master it, if I may put it that way. So you can get the maximum, okay, the sum of the maximum, the minimum, okay. That is how you work it. So thank you very much. In case you get confused in any of this, please reach out to us, chat us on WhatsApp, and make sure you do your assignment and do your test. We'll see you in the next section.